Hello, friends. Episode 65 of the podcast. I think some people pronounce it podcast. And you better make like a tree because that ball got out of here in a hurry. Um, what'd you think, Chopper? What'd you think of that guy?
I'll allow it. I'll give it a strong B. Sure, why not? I'm in. You would? Yeah,
You'll
tree.
allow
Yeah.
it. Well, I threw out that home run call. Thought of it right now on the top because we got a broadcaster in the house. He's here with us right now. I'm looking at him. So is Chopper. But I want to give him a formal introduction. He's got a great beard, great head of hair. But more importantly, he pitched in the Brewers and the Rangers organizations for darn near 20 years, Chopper. Owns every pitching record for the Nashville Sounds, which is the AAA affiliate for who, Chad Chop?
That'd be the AAA affiliate for it's one of two. I'm gonna go Rangers. Brewers.
So close.
Devastating.
Well, they had a big turnaround. They were the Brewers for like 15 years, and then they were the A's for like 4 years, and then they were the Rangers for 2 years, one of them being 2020, so that didn't really count. And then, yeah, back to the Brewers. Milwaukee,
Okay.
baby.
All right.
The
let's go.
silky pipes you're hearing, listener, is a guy that now calls games for the Brew Crew, also does pregame, postgame, and I call him the most interesting man in baseball. It's Tim Dillard. Everybody take a deep breath in and just let's give Tim Dillard a smile salute. Everybody smile.
That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah,
I could feel
that
that.
Right. Hey, welcome, brother. Thanks for joining us. Where do we find you today?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I live in Nashville, and just got off a 6-game road trip. The Brewers went to Colorado and then San Francisco, and after the day game in San Francisco, flew to Milwaukee. I was there for about 2 hours, woke up, took the early flight, and came home yesterday morning, and enough time to get my kids to school. So yeah,
Well done.
It's
That's
a great
a win.
life going on.
I understand that completely. I'm flying around running sandlots. You're flying around calling baseball games, and I got 2 young daughters, and I try to get back as quick as I can. Is there a straight flight from Milwaukee to Nashville?
Yeah, there is on Southwest. I think that's part of the reason when they started, MLB stepped in to kind of put minor league teams, at least AAA, really close as they can to their big league affiliates. And yeah, that was one part of the reason, because if they need a pitcher, if they need a position player at the drop of a hat, they need to make sure they can get them there. So yeah, luckily I got the Southwest app, and I've been racking up those miles, baby.
Yep, I get it. I totally get it. Well, Chopper, I got to have this guy on my podcast a few years ago. I was just enamored at his ability to entertain, and I think that's something that baseball has started to embrace. Major League Baseball is this idea that not just broadcasters or entertainers, but actually players, people that played the game, can bring in a brand new young audience with your social media or the way you entertain. Chopper, I don't know if you've done a deep dive into Timmy, aka Dilly, aka Dim Tillard. But listener, push pause, Google it, Instagram it. Timmy, let's start there. Then we'll go back. Then we'll go all the way back to the start. But why do you make these epic, funny videos? Friend of the pod, Jeff Levering. I've seen some great content with him recently. Why'd you start doing that in the old first place?
Yeah, I played for almost, like you said, 20 years. My dad, even before that, he was a big leaguer before I was born, but then he was a coach, minor league coach. And I grew up in the clubhouse. I feel comfortable in the clubhouse. I love the clubhouse. That's what I miss the most, is being around the guys. And I don't know, for the first probably 10 years of my career, we'd play cards. Every once in a while we'd play board games. We'd play cribbage. That's what you do, right? You got some downtime, and that's how you get to know guys. You have the conversations, you play games together. And then I think I just got maybe sick of the cards. I'd played so many cards. I was like, I'm going to do something else. and it became videos. The Dub Smash app was big at the time, and I'm sure it was shut down quickly because of copyright infringement, which I should have been shut down a long time ago. We just started stealing clips from movies, TVs, commercials, songs, didn't matter. And then we would just mouth the words. And so we started putting together these mini films in the clubhouse, which, let's be honest, you don't take a camera in the clubhouse. That's a big no-no. I talked to the Brewers. I'd been with them off and on for probably at that point, I don't know, 11, 12 years. So they were cool with me. Like, we trust you. We're not going to show, you're not going to show anything that you don't need to be showing. It's completely PG content. And it's like, I don't know, you just build this foundation with your teammates. It's like putting together a Lego set with your kid. You're just bonding over building this sandcastle together. And I don't know, we had a lot of fun doing it. And that's, I kind of miss that part of it. That's why you're seeing Levering so much. I'm hanging out with him more than, I don't have any more teammates. I got broadcaster teammates now. And so luckily they're on board with the shenanigans.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, you've seen things evolve like the Savannah Bananas and,
Oh, yeah.
John Boy Media. And there has to be something that you did way back in the MySpace era where those folks were like, hey, baseball players are funny. Let's humanize them a little bit and show the behind the scenes. Chopper, I mean, you were the card dealer on the planes for the Dodgers, right?
Card dealer. I was the guy. If we needed a prank or something to be done, a dare, they would come right to me. Hundo would come over and say, hey, we need you to do X, Y, or Z. And then we'd have to negotiate numbers on how much that would take from the boys. But yeah, you need to have that lightheartedness in a clubhouse. It's a long season and there's so much failure baked into the equation of baseball. You got to have guys like Timmy that are going to keep it light and fresh and fun. And that's oftentimes the recipe for success in baseball is if you can keep it lighthearted and fun and look forward to coming to the clubhouse, even in a 5-game losing streak where it's going to turn around because it's just good vibes,
Yeah, I think a big thing is, to the outside looking in, you think, okay, well, these players that they eat, they live, they breathe baseball. And as a fan, you're like, yes, that's what I want for my players. But that is not what you want. You don't want a guy leaving the field thinking about the
grinding.
Game. You want them to completely get away from the field, stop thinking about baseball, and then want them to get back to the clubhouse and then almost miss the guys. What I love about, I mean, I know of it from being in the clubhouse, but on the road trip, this last road trip, I get to be on the bus with the guys from the hotel to the field. And, we're busing to Oracle Park in San Francisco. And these guys had just saw each other, and when the game was over at like 11 p.m. the night before. And then here they are on the bus at 10 a.m. and they're like talking to each other, they're hugging on each other, and you're going, you just saw them. Like, what is the deal? You just saw these guys, but when you're in that environment, everyone gets it. They need that support group. They know what they're doing is really hard. And a lot of them are away from their families for so long. So your teammates become your family. And so you want to be around guys that keep it light, keep it fun, understand what you're doing, understand what you're trying to do on the field, but at the same time, it's about doing life together in those relationships.
It's beautiful. And this is a tease for the listener. Down the road in this conversation with Dillard, I'm going to ask him, what is one or two of his favorite movie clips that he has thrown back into the world via his social media. So I'm just going out on a limb. I'm going to guess it has something to do with maybe Nick Cage, but hey, don't spoil it. I want to go back to the beginning where it all began. And I am maybe 3-4 months older than you. So we're thinking 1982, 1983. In the late 80s, you had a brother that played pro ball. You had a dad that played pro ball. Was that where the love began for you, or was there something else?
Yeah, well, no brother till later. My two older brothers did end up playing pro ball, but that was when they were done with college. But man, by the time I could walk, it was just baseball, right? Like everywhere I looked, my dad had baseball stuff on the wall, and I think it really didn't dawn on me until maybe I was 10 that I was like, my dad played in the big leagues. Like, to me, he was just dad. That was it. my kids will eventually reach that moment, even though they saw me pitch. Because I was the oldest guy in the clubhouse and they were old enough to watch me pitch and remember. But I just came to this moment. I was like, wow, my dad actually played in the big leagues. But he didn't just play in the big leagues. He played on the Red Sox that had like Carlton Fisk, Louis Tiant, Carl Yastrzemski, Jim Rice, Fred Lynn, Dwight Evans. The list goes on. And it was just really cool. You know, when it dawned on me when I found this baseball card in like a pile of my cards, it was actually Mike Schmidt with the Phillies, but I didn't know that at the time. My dad had that iconic mustache, so I thought it was him. It looked an awful lot like him. But that was it.
You used to go by the name Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, Dad. Remember when you were with the Phillies? He's like, I never played for the Phillies. I'm like, well, who's this clown? You know. But that was it. And I grew up in Florida. My dad was coaching for the White Sox in the Gulf Coast League, and then later for the Astros for a good time. But we lived in Florida, had a really tiny house, but we had a big backyard. It was flat. It was grass. My dad built a little league field back there. So from the time I could walk, it was, hey, we need you to go play shortstop. We're going to turn double plays, or hey, you got to go play first. And so I was learning to pick balls as far back as I could remember. And then my brother was like, hey, I want to be a pitcher. So you're going to be the catcher. And I was like, okay. I was the youngest and they bossed me around. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we were taught in the backyard how to play every position. That's just the way it was. And for my dad, it was about, it doesn't matter what you're going to do in life. If you don't have to play baseball, but if you're ever going to be part of a workforce and part of a team, you need to know what that's like. And so it was all about being part of a team. And then even specifically to baseball, we don't know what position you're going to play, but just because you play third base, you need to know what the right fielder does in certain situations and vice versa. Like you need to know what everyone else is thinking, what everyone else is trying to do on the field. It's going to make you better at whatever position you play. So yeah, we learned all positions. I gravitated towards catcher because a lot of people didn't want to do it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being part of every pitch. I enjoyed blocking balls, throwing people out. That was my jam. Ended up getting drafted twice as a catcher by the Brewers. And I had an injury in high school right before, I think, playoffs in high school. My senior year, I hurt my left shoulder swinging because I used to have a big swing.
Hey now.
And I was actually swinging for some scouts. There was a Royal Scout and a Brewer Scout after a game. And I took a wooden bat, started swinging, and anyway, ended up hurting myself. And that kind of ended up being the path to where the Brewers in 2003, back when the draft and follow existed, and then it didn't exist, and then now it's back, to get super technical. And anyway, they were like, we know you're a good catcher, but we think you have a long career as a pitcher. And I had never really pitched a whole lot. I pitched my junior year and senior year of high school just out of necessity. I just wanted to win. And I was like, I'll pitch. I don't care. And it was very raw. My mechanics were just whatever. But I was about a 0.9 to the plate because I didn't want people to steal because I know the catcher's trying to throw people out. So I was like, I'm going to be quick to the plate. And I wanted to be Randy Johnson, even though I was right-handed. So I was like, I'm going to throw, kind of 3/4, and I'm just going to try to saw these dudes off with their hands. And I don't know, it was just very raw. And but I ended up throwing harder. So when I was in college, junior college, my second year, whatever that is, the sophomore year.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, I started pitching.
I looked it up.
Yeah. Fact check. Ask Jeeves. Remember him? And yeah, so I was like, guys were getting hurt and we needed pitchers. So we would play 7-inning doubleheaders, and I would catch the first 7 innings, and then the next game I would pitch and throw the whole game. And apparently that was rare. So scouts started showing up and going, okay, well, yeah, people aren't doing this much. And anyway, I ended up pitching better than I caught, and yeah, ended up playing, 18 seasons in professional baseball. So I wasn't always the best, but I was healthy and I stayed out there. And that's all about getting that next jersey. And until your wife says, can you not get another jersey?
Yes, please. Yep. Oh, can we relate? 2 things to unpack there. The first is in the backyard, learning all the different positions. And last night I had a sandlot, bunch of 12-year-olds out there, and that's a big priority of mine. So I had I had a left fielder, a center fielder, a right fielder, shortstop, second, and first. And every couple of plays, I just had them rotating to a different position. And the
Yep.
key there, because this is a podcast for coaches and parents of youth baseball primarily, um, uh, have your players listen while you're coaching somebody else. And when they're in left field and you're teaching a first baseman how to back up a throw to second, make sure everybody's listening, and then have them rotate to all those different positions. Because a lot of times you try out for a travel ball team or a high school team, college team, you're not going to get to play the position you want, right? And I know those times in the backyard, learning all the different positions helped you have an 18-year career in pro ball. The one of the priorities of this pod is to teach love of play. You're in love with the game. Me and Chopper in love with the game. Each kid is wired differently, but can you pinpoint one or two things, brothers, dad, what they did that taught you love of play, really nurtured that?
I would say just the feel of necessity. I always thought of myself as like a Swiss Army knife, like whatever you need, I want to do that. They're like, all right, we're going to turn double plays. We're not just going to turn double plays. We're going to learn how to do it. We're going to learn the technique. And once you learn the technique and what you're trying to do, then you just have fun with it. Then that's when you start seeing like the stuff you see on TV, or you see Jeter making a play at home plate because he has that much feel for it, because you learn the game, you learn what everyone else is trying to do. And then that's when it becomes fun. Then you can explore the space. That's what you see in the big leagues, guys exploring the space, right? There's so much room for activities out here. But you have to have the fundamentals, and you always have somewhere to be. I remember that was one of the first things I remember when we were getting out on the field. I was very young. My dad's like, it doesn't matter where the baseball is, you have somewhere you got to be. And that's what we're going to learn. We're going to learn on where you need to be. And it really helped too, because when you start looking at different positions, you can anticipate what's going on. So if I'm on the mound and I'm in AA and there's a bunt, I know where the third baseman's going to be. I know where the first baseman's going. I know where the second baseman. So there's times when, and I always thought myself as a good defender, as a pitcher, there's some pitchers that they don't want to field their position. They don't want to have to pick or anything like that. But having that knowledge, it was just fun. Having the knowledge was fun because you could do something special. So I would dive off the mound. I'd like backhand the ball, roll over, and throw to second base because I knew that the guy would be freezing at second base because the ball was kind of in the air. So I knew he'd be hung. It's endless. It's endless. Once you get the fundamentals of what's going on, you can make magic out there on the field. And I think that's what I love the most. Maybe not always learning the fundamentals, but knowing that once I had that knowledge, then I felt like I could do anything on the field.
One of my favorite things to watch is an elite defensive team take pregame infield.
Oh yeah,
infield and outfield, and like I know in college we would try to go from top to bottom, soup to nuts, perfection, all the way to the coach hitting the pop up to the catcher, and there's just something so sweet about that and so unique to baseball, right? You don't really get that pregame infield outfield, and it's a magical feeling. I also, side note, explore the space, my favorite thing to say, for sure.
It's true. It's confirmed.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Chopper, back to you.
A couple things. One thing, I love that you said that about the bunt in the air, knowing even though you dove that you'd have to play at second. That just came up at practice the other day where there was a really fast runner on first, which is good. Our catcher was aware of that, the speed at first base.
Yep.
But the ball was popped up and we absolutely had to play at second base. I do have a saying that is, when in doubt, get an out. So I don't hate that we got the out at first, but I did address like, hey, that ball was popped up. What's that guy at first have to do? He has to freeze second base all day. He was only halfway to second. My catcher's response was, he was fast. So I just don't assume, like play the game with your eyes.
Yeah.
But I also love that your dad was huge on there. I mean, I'm adamant about there's always somewhere to be. Like, this is not a boring game. There's so much beauty in this game when there's somewhere to be. And I have an opportunity to be somewhere that no one expects me to be. And I can make this really cool hero play just because I'm not just being a spectator, So
Yep.
I love that. I love that about your pops and your brothers. Question I have for you. because I think you have a tremendous perspective being both a catcher and a pitcher. What are a couple keys that you need from a successful pitcher? Like for me, it's fastball command. It's being able to land a secondary breaking ball to steal a strike. Being quick to the plate. I love at least showing it. But what are some keys that you believe are foundations to be a great pitcher?
Wow, I didn't think this was going to be like a deep soul searching podcast.
Hey,
man.
I'm coaching, bro. I got these high school
Let's
babies.
go.
I'm trying to get them
I love
scholarships. Let's go.
I know. I got a 14-year-old, and he is he's good. He's a good player. And he really likes pitching. You know, I blame myself. And he's good at it. You know, he's not the strongest kid out there yet, right? You're 14. You're hopefully, you know, you hit that growth spurt, but I tell him this is what he's been pitching for a few years now. And I told him, I was like, if you're going to pitch, you're going to throw strikes. You're just going to throw strikes. Strikes are key. A pitching coach, a team, a manager, a head coach, whatever you're doing, they want pitchers to throw strikes. You have to learn to throw. That's your foundation. Doesn't matter what you're doing, mechanics aside, grips aside, pitches aside, you have to throw a strike. That's it. If you went in the backyard and just threw from the mound or whatever the mound and just learned how to throw strikes, you are ahead of the game. You're ahead of the ball game. That's what it is. And it never ends. You can go play in college. It's about throwing strikes. You go to the big leagues. It's about throwing strikes. You see a guy working in a bullpen. He's working on throwing strikes. That's it. And what I love is that once you start to know that you can throw strikes, then you can learn when not to throw strikes. Yep. And that, I think what we see at a young age is everybody wants to get a guy to chase a pitch, you know, and they start out not throwing strikes, and hoping for something to happen. Some of the most elite pitchers in baseball right now is all about their stuff being amazing in the zone. You know, there was a time and a place when it was swing and miss, get these guys to swing and miss. Well, then walks became popular. You saw the Yankees and the Red Sox for decades, seeing more pitches than anybody else. The average age, they were really old. And so they were veterans, and they were just like, we'll just let a pitcher get himself in trouble. And so then you had to learn how to get back to the zone and throw strikes in the zone. Throwing strike. Here's the downside to that. Here's the downside of me preaching to my kid, hey, when you go out there, throw strikes, because nothing happens in a ball game. You watch a Little League game, it's full of walks, it's full of strikeouts. Awful. Nothing happens. There's stolen bases every 5 seconds. And I tell him, you know, if you're throwing these strikes, the side effect is guys are going to hit it. So there's way more action. He comes into a game, suddenly it's a Bruce Willis Van Damme movie from the 90s. Like, it's just nothing's happened for 6 innings, and then there's a jam, and they throw my kid out there, and it's just like whack, whack, whack. You know, it could be, yes, it could be a base hit, it could be a double, it could be an out. If you hit it to him, it's probably gonna be a double play. You know, he's and you know, they don't always win the game, but at that level, it's not about winning the game. It's about winning the long term. And for him, he's learning now how to throw strikes, even when it's hard. Listen, throwing strikes when everybody gets out is really fun. You throw a pitch, you get an out. It's like, you know, you put the quarter in, you go around circular. It's all great. Good vibes. When you throw a strike and a guy punishes it off the wall or over, it makes you not want to throw strikes anymore. So for me, it's about getting to the root of it, going, yes, you gave up 7 doubles on 7 pitches. And I couldn't be more proud of you because they were all strikes. And there's guys in the big leagues that can't throw 7 out of 10 for strikes sometimes. So yes, always throwing strikes. I don't even know if I have another foundational thing.
I love that. I love that. One thing, I had Gonsolin with the Dodgers, and his first couple of years, he did not attack the zone, and he got into these hitters counts, and he gave up damage, and he walked guys. And it's like, the thing I told him is like, look at Cy Young award-winning pitchers, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, the list goes on, Verlander. Yep. They give up solo homers. Like, that's like a hallmark of a great pitcher. Because they're, to your point, they're attacking the zone. They don't care. Here it is. It's hard to hit it. You know, so I love that. My oldest is a freshman this year, and he throws strikes, dude. Like he was 5-0 with a 2.38 on varsity as a freshman, and he was not striking guys out. It was he could land a breaking ball, he could throw strikes, he didn't walk guys, and he was second team all region just because he could throw strikes, and that was it. he's not throwing hard, but he's not walking guys. And we had a tremendous defense behind him. So I love that. I love throwing strikes. I also love that you said when you throw strikes, you can learn when not to throw strikes. We had our ace in the preseason this year where he got their leadoff guy, really good team, leadoff guy 0-2, and he threw a slider. The kid fouled it off, so we called fastball in. Well, he threw it for a strike, and the kid hit a rocket in the 6 hole. He comes off the mound, and he was shaking his head. He's like, I knew I shouldn't have thrown him a fastball 0-2. I was like, no, dude, you should have thrown the fastball, but it should have been an upshoot. And that's where we implemented the upshoot of like, hey, up and in, where it's either he gets out of the way or he feels it,
Sure.
but he's going to get out of the way because he's got eyes. And then you go right back to the slider. So we got better as a team because in that moment, it was like, okay, this is where we got to teach you when not to throw a strike. The fastball in was not for a strike, so.
Yep. The teachable moments. Teachable moments. I had a pitching coach once. We were giving up too many 0-2 base hits. And it wasn't just me. It was just as a team. We were giving up too many 0-2 base hits, which I didn't really care because I was like, I'm going to throw a strike. If a guy hits a dinker and it's, swinging bunt or gets it through the 4 hole, like I'm okay with that. I'll just get a double play. I was a ground ball guy and knew what kind of pitcher I was. But he instituted a fine for $100. You give up an 0-2 base hit, it's $100. And dude, in the minor leagues, this, that's a lot of money.
We had the same fine. We had the same fine from our I'm serious. Our pitching coach, Reggie Jackson was his name.
Yeah.
Coach Jackson.
Well, I mean, but that's universal, right? Like you get in pro ball, this is the way it is. And I remember my first start in AA after that rule was instituted. And I told the catcher, I was so sarcastic. Kids, don't be like me. I was stubborn. And, I felt like you're getting on to me and I'm not even doing that much. So I told the catcher, hey, if there's nobody on base and we get a guy 0-2, I'm going to throw this ball halfway up the backstop just to prove a point. And I did that. First batter got him 0-2. Catcher's, I could see it through his mask. Big old grin. And I came set. We were playing in the Cubs AA in Pringles Park in Jackson, Tennessee. And I threw this ball almost over the net behind home plate.
I love it.
Came set, and Chris Walker was a leadoff guy, lefty, and really fast, and played against him like every level. And he steps out and he asked our catcher, he's like, what's wrong with Dillard? He never misses.
He didn't miss. He was aiming.
He did. I didn't. That's what the catcher said. Catcher goes, you know what? He didn't miss on that one either.
Only you, man. I love
That's
that
so
you have
good.
the perspective of a dad as well. And this is a question we ask on this pod a lot is, you played professional baseball for 20 years. So thinking big picture comes pretty natural to you. But why do most travel ball coaches, little league coaches, little league parents, why can they not see past the game? Why can they not see past the win or loss that day and look big picture? I'm sure you've seen some crazy action as you sit in the bleachers or coach your kids. Any ideas why can't they get there?
Man, I'm getting chills right now because it's such an important topic, and I don't know the exact answer, but I will say I've seen it done the right way, and that's what I'm trying to do as a dad of kids that play sports. I got 3 of them; they all play sports. Number one, like my dad in high school, when I was in high school, he would just sit in the chair and watch the entire game. He would just sit in a little chair off by himself. He wanted to watch the game. And my dad was like a local celebrity. We're in a small town in Mississippi, and everyone knew him. He's a legend. And, people would come up and try to talk to him. He's just like, well, let me watch this game. He just wanted to watch his kids play. And he wouldn't say a word. And there's dads climbing the fence, screaming at everything. And my dad wouldn't say a word. After the game, he still wouldn't say a word. And there'd be times I come up to him and be like, hey, what happened there in the third? And he'd go, well, ball was hit back to you, but you were thinking right. But in that situation, third baseman wasn't thinking that at all. And I'm just like, okay. And he breaks down the entire play. And one that comes to mind, it was first and second, nobody out. And I jammed this. It was my junior season. Kid got jammed on a ball, like a really slow, soft liner back to me. But when you're on the mound, you think everything's a rocket. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of was like, getting my glove up, trying to shield my face a little bit, didn't know where it was going to, and it hits me right in the palm. And as soon as it hit me in the palm, it fell straight to the ground. So in the matter of a split second, this is what I thought. I was like, we got first and second. They were freezing on line drive, slow line drive. I'm thinking this is triple play because that guy's not even out of the box yet. And I'm thinking I'm going to third. So as soon as the ball hit the ground, like it barely hit and bounced back up, I turned barehanded, throw it to third, and it goes right over third base, and there ain't nobody standing there. You know, and I was just like, that was bad. You know, I looked like a complete fool because, you know, anyway, so I remembered my dad in that moment because he had watched the game. He wasn't busy yelling and talking to everybody. He watched the game and he goes, well, that was maybe the correct play, but your third baseman was not thinking that at all. He did not get there. He didn't think it was you were going to third base at any point, you know, and you need to know that. You need to not expect that, you know, at this level of high school, but you need to make sure, like, if that could be a possibility, throw it out there. Say, hey, if it's back to me hard enough, I'm coming to you, you know, if that's what you want to do in that moment. And what I found is that that's the right way to do it. Don't climb the fence. Don't yell at the coaches. And you know what? I don't coach my kids. And my wife has a hard time with this because she's like, how come this kid's not playing? How come our kid's not leading off? And I'm going, you know what? He volunteered to coach. He can put his kid first. He can play shortstop or pitch. He's volunteering his time to do this. He has full range of whatever. If he wants to make my kid run because he's late for practice, then you know what? Go do it. Like I'm sorry. I'm not going to agree with it or disagree with it, but you put in the time. He's the coach. He can do whatever he wants. So I don't argue in that way. I just sit there and watch the game. And it's interesting too. So my youngest is 7, and he's on the same team with Chase Headley's child. Do you know Chase Headley?
Yep.
Remember him from Padres, Yankees?
Yep.
And so the game's going on. We're watching our kids, and in between innings, we're talking about RBIs in baseball because he led the league one year with the San Diego Padres. And so I love that. And I always ask him, you know, different questions. And he said, just talking about RBIs, he's like, every time there was an opportunity for an RBI, I took it. So in between innings, we're talking baseball. We're talking strategic baseball as we're watching these kids play. We're not critiquing these kids. We're watching them have fun and trying to learn the game. That's what we're doing. And sure, there's things that we would do different. But if you're a parent listening to this, you need to sit there, just watch the game and prepare for questions from your kids. They may be asking questions. Don't get in the car and berate them. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? Because kids go to school for 8 hours, you know, and then they have to go to practice or they have to go to a game. And it's hard being a little kid sometimes when you're having to go through all that. So there should be a lot of grace in those moments. But for a parent, be ready. It's the same as a coach. Watch the game. Once you get in, it's free to pay attention, right? Get in there, pay attention, watch all the angles. And then in the moments when you have a teachable moment, sit there and go, yeah, you should have ran harder. Like you were watching the ball. You thought it was going to go foul. So you didn't run. Next time, run if it's questionable. And anyway, I'm sorry I get long-winded, but I just thought to myself, when my kid was 11, he stole home on a pass ball, right? Pass ball, he goes to run in. And I've been preaching to him, like, you need to slide. You need to learn how to slide. You know how to slide all the time. He goes running in. He doesn't slide. Catcher picks it up at the fence. No play whatsoever, but decides to throw the baseball. And it hits him in the mouth. He ends up getting a big, giant, swollen lip. And I didn't say anything. And, you know, he kept playing in the game. Game got over. All his teeth were intact. Thank goodness. But I waited for him to say something. And sure enough, you know, in the car, he was like, I should have slid. Like, yeah, you probably should have.
There you go.
And I was like, you know what? Your face will heal, you know, and if not, you'll have scars like me of lessons that we've learned. And I said, next time you're in that situation, you will slide. And this is it's a learning moment. Slide. And so you have to fail. But for parents, be there and have a response, a very good response to help nurture these kids that, you know, they're playing a hard game.
And criticize quietly, you know, and have them engage with the question first. I got chills listening to you talk about your dad because my dad was the same. Lawn chair, 6-pack of Wild Cherry Pepsi, Hawaiian shirt unbuttoned, behind the left field fence. It was a specific deal, but he was very quiet. And my best friend, who always batted in front of me, was the best player I'd ever seen. Every college coach was after him. He came up to me senior year in the on-deck circle. Big moment, bottom of the 9th. "Hey, James, why are you so clutch? I've never been clutch." And I had no idea how to answer that question. But looking back on it, I can see both our dads. I can see my dad, I mean, laughing and giggling and just, talking baseball with a buddy. And then there's his dad clinging to the fence, very loud, reminding him how much pressure he should be feeling, and I loved the big moment. I mean, I batted like a buck 20 in college with nobody on base. But when people were in scoring position, I batted like 500. I really liked that spotlight because I wasn't afraid of that moment, just like you weren't afraid of big moments. But I love that. I love the idea of tone. I think kids look at parents' body language and they hear the volume and the tone of which you speak way more than the actual words. And when there is something constructive, I mean, they're gonna open their ears a lot more when it's a conversation, and it's
Yeah.
after they've had a chance to decompress the moment and almost lose their tooth, and then they'll actually say, "Hey, Dad, what I do wrong there?" And then you got them. Then you got them. But I think it's an anxiety thing. I think it's an uneducated kind of thing, and so as parents, we gotta do better. We gotta educate ourselves on it. And Chopper, I don't know if you see it at the high school level still, but I know you do in your travel ball.
Yeah, I want to touch on the why coaches are so crazy. And a lot of times it's not because it's their kid, it's because they live vicariously and they find worth in, oh, my team's won another, $5 ring. And it's like, I promised my parents my first go around, right? And now all these kids are starting to be in high school. So if we had 12 kids on the team, I just got a text a few days ago from our social media director, who was also my social media director in club ball. Yeah, we have a social media director. Bang.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big time. Big time, huge time. So, but he texted me. He's like, "Hey, coach, I just want you to know, you have 10 kids right now across 6 different high school programs playing varsity baseball as freshmen." So that was my promise to the parents. It's like, hey, we didn't win our first tournament. I think it was 250 days. It was something ridiculous, right? Because I didn't care. Like, I wanted to make sure the kids knew that they had value and they were fearfully and wonderfully made. And my love for them was detached from their results. And I wanted to teach them fundamentals. My promise to the parents and to the kids was, you're going to be an asset when you get to high school. That's my goal. That's my only goal. And the winning and all that stuff, that's going to be a byproduct of our hard work and our attention to detail. But we did community service once a month. They had to have at least a B grade point average in school to be a part of our club. And then we did speed and power every practice. So out of the 12 kids, 13 kids, 10 are playing varsity baseball as freshmen. The other 2 are running track, right? Which is awesome. So I think sometimes we lose train of thought when we're running these clubs. Like, we got to win games. No, dude, like, empower your kids. Like, empower your kids. Show them how to deal with adversity the right way. Give them the tools where it's like, hey, we're going to do speed and power so that you know how to run the right way correctly. And it may not be baseball, but mom and dad aren't wasting $150 a month because your kid all of a sudden now doesn't play baseball, So I think it's that looking from the right lens, like we talk about, Coach Ballgame, of win the heart and just encourage these kids to be confident young men filled with empathy and love and grace. And if we did that as coaches, we're not going to scream. There's nothing to scream about. If it's a bad call, cool. Hey, learn how to overcome it, Jimmy. You got this. Get in the moment. Win the moment. You can do it. Show us your heart and your character. So,
and I think
that's good.
I think parents will probably they'll watch what you do as a coach and kind of follow your body language and your actions more than they will you sending an email or you telling them be quiet. Right? That they might even turn their ears off when you send that email. Like, these are the rules. But all caps. I mean, you might have to do that with some parents, but yeah, I think Dilly, just the way you and Chase Headley kind of the way you react to high leverage moments with your kids, they'll watch you. They'll see that and they'll be like, oh, they've been there, done that, and they're not freaking out. So
very true. Very true. We'll sit there. And I mean, people watch my dad just sit there and watch. We didn't always play great. It would be awful. My dad's just sitting there watching the game, like, just for the pure sport of the game and for later feedback. But I think one of the big things is staying calm as a parent. Is it's not everything. So, if they're 7 years old, there's a lot of baseball left. If they're 10, if they're 15, like, and make sure your kid likes baseball. I mean, I tell my kids every time they sign a verbal contract. My wife wouldn't let me do a written thing. Seemed weird. But if you sign up, I don't care what you sign up for. You sign up for, my daughter did soccer, and she's doing gymnastics and got kids playing, running track or whatever they decide to do. Number one, you're going to play a team sport. You're going to play a team sport, learn how to function as a team, learn where you fit in the mosaic, the puzzle piece. But you sign this contract verbally because if you're going to play, you're going to play the game this year. Yeah, I want to play on the team. Okay. You show up to practice, you practice hard, you have a good attitude, you're a good teammate, and you play games hard. And once you finish that season, you don't ever have to play baseball ever again. I'm not going to force you to play baseball ever again. You want to go another sport, you want to do another route, that's fine. I got no problem with that. But you're going to finish this one. And putting the pressure on the kid of like, yes, you're going to play. Yes, you need to be running. And you have to tell them in the moment, shows a lack of preparation on the parents' part, right? I'm sorry if this is being pointed. I feel like if someone's listening to this, they're going to be like, that's me, but I'm going to fight against that because I don't like it when people tell me my faults. I'm the king of that. I ask my wife, like, tell me something I did wrong, and I can think of 40 ways on how that doesn't apply. But think about what you say to your kid before they get out of the car or before the game. Tell them everything you need to tell them, so you don't have to even go to the dugout or yell at something. Hey, turn two. Like, get them ready mentally, right? Get them mental. So I tell them every time for the guy out of the car, I'm like, hey, be a good teammate. And I want that to be all encompassing. Be a good teammate. I'm not telling them, hey, I want you to hit a home run. Be a good teammate. You're going to do what's right. You're going to do what's right in the field, at the plate, on the mound, running the bases. You're going to do what's right if you're being a good teammate. And, if your kid struggles in an area, say, hey, listen, make sure you need to back up a base. Tell them before, hey, run hard today. You hit a ball on the ground. I want to run the fastest you've ever ran. Run through the base, whatever you have to do, whatever the one thing that maybe they need to hear. And I can't wait to cheer for you. I can't wait. You ain't going to see me in the dugout, kid. I ain't bringing you a juice box in the middle of a game. Like, I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to enjoy watching you play. I don't care if you strike out 3 times. You strike out 3 times, guess what? You're 3 at-bats better as a baseball player than you were before the game started. So I don't care if you strike out. Go up there with so much freedom that whatever pitch you want to hit, just smash it as hard as you can. Like, give them a blanket where they can, have that freedom. I had a coach once tell me, he came out to the mound and he had given up a home run to a guy named Valentino Pascucci in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Remember?
Yeah, you did.
Val was from our hometown.
Yeah, giant. That guy was a giant. And he had probably hit some, a lot of balls off a lot of people a long way. But I gave up a home run, and my manager came out to the mound in the middle of an inning, like the 4th inning. And I was like, they're taking me out already? I've been cut already. And anyway, there's nobody warm up to the bullpen. He comes out, and Pascucci was up, and he goes, hey, would this guy hit a home run off you? That ball was crushed, but what was it? I said it was a slider. He's like, okay, I want you to throw every pitch this at bat to him a slider. And I was like, are you sure? And think about it. I have a pitching coach. He didn't come out. Catcher didn't come out. It was the manager. He just wanted to say that. He goes, I want you to throw every pitch this guy a slider. And then he just ran off the mound. I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, well, if I give up a home run to him, I've already done that. That's on the head coach. That's on the manager. Like, he told me to throw a slider. So, but anyway, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna. I know I'm throwing slider right now. So catcher calls slider. I'm like, yeah, throw a slider. I ended up getting him out. I threw 5 sliders. Ended up getting him out. Popped it up to the catcher. I think I came in, and as I reflected on that moment, he gave me a safety net. He allowed some area where I could have failed, and it was okay. Hey. You basically saying if you give up a home run, that's fine, but you need to learn how to throw a good slider at the AAA level, apparently at 4,500 feet of Isotope Stadium. But whatever reason, he's like, this is a teachable moment, and he's going to do it for me. And it was my first year in AAA, and I'm facing, some big leaguers in these lineups. And he thought that was more important than this game, this at bat.
And that's one step away from the show. You're one step away from the show where honestly, he could lose his job if you lose that day, or if you lose 10 straight, he might lose his job. He's still looking big picture. So we, as parents of an 8-year-old, come on now. Man,
No
I
excuses.
I know exactly. I want to put a bow on this topic and get you out of here. Anything to close up shop on that theme, Chopper?
Yeah, the term I use for my babies is play confident and fearless. Like confident and fearless. If you're going to make an aggressive mistake, we're going to celebrate it as a staff. If you're timid or scared or you don't go when you think you should, that's when we're going to we don't yell in any way, but it's like, hey, that's when it's like, hey, dude, I gave you that blanket. Like confident and fearless, anticipate it's 0-2. What's this guy done the whole day? Fastball up, curveball in the dirt, 1-2, go. Like be fearless, see it out of hand. Don't wait till it's to home plate. And so many times as a catcher, they block a ball and they figure the guy's not going. Our guys are already halfway to second. And then they're like, oh, shoot. And you know what I mean? So it's like, as coaches, dude, like, yes, I love that your AAA coach did that. And you do that as a dad. Like, get them prepared and let them go. Like, play free became our mantra the second half of the year. And we ended up, 13-2 the second half of the season because it was like play free, free to fail, free to succeed, free to explore the space. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like play free. And we had so much fun as a group when we kind of just like release the pressure, dude. Like, hey, let's just take a little pressure out of the tire and let's freaking roll.
Yeah,
I like that.
One of the best ones I heard, Mike Maddox, who's been a pitching coach for however long. His brother's, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, something.
Great
guy.
Yeah,
Maddox, so big rubber. He likes to rub your shoulder when he's talking to you.
Yeah.
He walks out to the mound. He puts his hand on your shoulder to see how tense you are. Because as a pitcher, you're tense in the shoulders, and he wants to know how tense you are on the mound. It's actually a real thing. He's come out to the mound for, with me. I was with the Brewers in 2008 when he was the pitching coach, and he come out and but one thing he said one spring training is he said, I want you guys to not have any gray area. I want you to be 100% right or 100% wrong. If you're backing up a base or if you're throwing a pitch, don't be in between. Be 100% right or 100% wrong.
Conviction.
Bang.
I love that.
That's amazing. And he's obviously one of the most respected pitching coaches in the game. And he's letting you know right away that I want you to have 100% freedom to fail all the way, or 100% freedom to win all the way. So another knock on your door there, parent and coach. Give your kids total freedom. I see William Wallace on a horse with blue face paint right now, just screaming freedom. Maybe before the game today, you're only allowed to say these words, coaches: explore the space and be free to fail. And then tomorrow at practice, do some high leverage situational stuff. Put the pressure on them in practice, make it feel like the game, put that game speed, fast forward a little bit and do that in practice. We talked to the Brown University baseball coach. That's what he does. We try and make the practice so intense and fast for these high caliber players that the game, we just be quiet and we watch the game quietly. So that's good stuff.
Your job in game. Yeah. Your job in game as a coach is to get your kids in a good mental space. So if they fail, they know they failed. You don't need to yell at them. You need to find a way to get them back in the moment. If it's humor, if it's a kind look, if it's just a reminder that, hey, we believe in you. You're the best. You got this. You can do it. Hey, next ball's coming to you. You're the GOAT, like whatever it takes. Your job is to be a true, you got to just be emotionally dialed in for the kids. Like, you know what I mean? And then to your point, at practice, sure, do the constructive criticism. If you can, do it one-on-one, make the celebration be heard and the criticism be one-on-one. But yeah, in game, dude, how do we get them? You're a therapist in game.
It's good. We're getting you out of here because do you have a game to call tonight?
No. I'm actually going to my 7-year-old's baseball game tonight.
Yes, you are.
You won't call it.
In my head, I'm like, I'm
First
there.
pitch.
Yeah. There's a drive to pitcher, double, advances the home on the throwing.
Yeah, routine ground ball to second. That'll be a 4-3. Oh, that's a home run.
There's a drive to second base. If it's fair, it's gone.
It's so good.
Do you know who you faced the most in the show? What batter?
I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say Yadier Molina, I think.
Good guess. Incorrect. Chopper,
NL
you got it.
Central.
We're going NL East.
East.
And he's Mr. His nickname's Mr. something.
NL East.
Mr.
Mr.
Met.
Mr.
Met, the
Ooh,
mascot.
David Wright. David Wright.
Mr. National.
Oh, Ryan Zimmerman.
Bang, Ryan Zimmerman.
Really?
Most hits was Yachty. He got the most knocks off of you.
Yeah, he's 5
That's
for
why you remembered it.
Yeah, he's 5 for 4 off of me. He's good.
5 for 4. Hey, look that one up.
It dialed in on me.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What was the one moment you'll tell your kids from being on a mound in the show? Can you pinpoint one moment that you'll carry with you the rest of your life?
I got one win in the big leagues. I have several losses, but I got one win and it fell in my lap, and it was out of necessity. There was nobody else. There was the bullpen. We were in Florida in the old stadium playing the Marlins football stadium.
Yeah.
And there was, a guy that wasn't going to pitch because he had thrown so many innings the day before. And then, there's all these other guys that pitched in the game. It was kind of I don't want to say meaningless game, but it was, it was a game, and it was me and John Axford left in the bullpen and that were able to pitch. And I got put in, and it was bases. It was like the worst moment you could think of. It was a bases loaded, nobody out or one out, and the game's on the line. We're like tied. And I get out there, and they're just, I think Ron Renicky just said, he said, "Get me a ground ball." He said, "Just get me a ground ball." And I said, "Okay. All right." And there was this, was it Gabby Sanchez?
Yeah.
Gabby Sanchez, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was up. And anyway, I thought this guy's a ground ball waiting to happen. So I want to be the one to give it to him. And sure enough, hits a chopper on the ground to third. Craig Counsell, the manager of the Brewers now, is at third base. He picks up the ball, and I think he's like going towards the dugout, like crosses the foul line, throws back across his body to Lucroy at catching. And anyway, gets the out. And I think they turned 2 right there. I think he threw to first afterwards because Gabby's not very fast. And then the next batter was this guy. You may have heard him, Mike Stanton. He eventually
Giancarlo,
changed.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, you know him as Giancarlo now.
Yeah.
So anyway, next pitch, threw another pitch, and then it was like broken bat out to left field for an out and get out of the inning. And we end up scoring a run. Braun hit a home run, I think, and then maybe Axford comes in, gets a save. And it didn't even dawn on me till after the game. Everybody was like,
congrats,
spray me with like champagne and all this stuff. Felt like it was water, but I was like, what's going on? They're like, you got the win. I was like, what? How'd that happen? But I would tell that to my kids, because like, you don't know what situation you're going to be in. You don't know it. In your mind, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. Baseball doesn't care what you think is going to happen. You have to be paranoid in this game. I wasn't even supposed to pitch that day. I wasn't the guy. There was, 4 other guys that were going to throw. Well, guess what? They did throw, and things didn't work out the way that, the manager at the time thought. So I just was always prepared. I had so many moments in my career that just made me super paranoid, to the point where I was like, I'm ready to throw the next pitch of this game, even though it's the first inning and there hasn't been a pitch yet. I'm the guy that's always ready. You can't out prepare me. I am so ready right now. My mental space, like if I have to sprint in at any moment, I'm ready. So I go out there, worst case imaginable, bases loaded in the big leagues, and a couple of big hitters at the plate, and it's just like, simplify it. Just ground ball here. That was it.
Bang. I think that's great. I think it's beautiful, and that's one more win than me and Chopper have combined. So that's a fact. You're now calling games with the crew, sharing the booth with Lev, and I'll leave you with this: your favorite part of calling a game now that you're on the other side of it. What do you love?
I love seeing the stuff that maybe not everybody sees. Sometimes if you're watching on TV, you don't get to see what happens in between innings. There's always something out there, and me sitting in bullpens, as long as I sat in a bullpen and watched a game, there's always something to see. Any ball game you ever go to, you're going to see something you've never seen before if you're watching close enough. I've never come away from a game going, I've seen it all. You're always going to see it's whether it's a pitch or whether it's a play. It's just, or a weird moment. It's like the thing. Every time you watch a game in the big leagues, somebody will foul a ball off between their legs. Happens once a game. It does. If you're watching. And it's just little things like that. I watch to see how the pitchers come set, how long they come set. Are they doing the same thing every time? And the guy will steal a base and be like, oh, it's a stolen base for Christian Yelich. And I was like, yeah, he timed him up big time. The guy came set, 1, 2, pitched 3 pitches in a row. If we can see that, that's what a first base coach is for. Quentin Berry's over there. He's watching. He's got a stopwatch going, dude, he's doing the same thing every time. You're going to go on this pitch. And on the onset, if you're just sitting in the stands looking, you're just like, oh, he stole a base. Big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, as a broadcaster, I'm able to express all those little, those little things that just, that I want to share that nobody really cares about outside of a bullpen, but they give me a platform to do that.
Nuance overload, big time. Listener, you've had the pleasure of listening to these pipes for a good hour now. Now go watch some of his great videos. Tim Dillard, go to his Instagram and watch some of the videos and the recreations you do of these famous movie scenes. What is your favorite, as we teased that earlier?
I don't know. I've had a lot of them that, people don't even think are that funny, but me and the fun that we had putting the video together with the teammates, like if I had a behind the scenes camera to show some of the stuff, the outrageous stuff that we did, it just makes you smile. Not a day goes by a teammate of mine, a former teammate, doesn't just sit there and go, dude, you remember that video we made in Omaha?
That's very telling, man.
It kind of, all these videos that we made basically is just a biography of those years. It helps me remember guys. It helps me remember seasons and helps me remember where we were and what happened that day. And, you can have a bad day at the field and you come back the next day and there's me asking, hey, I need you to put this chest protector on and pretend like you're, doing this on top of the dugout. And some of the teammates that really got into it were like, okay,
well,
whatever, I'll do whatever.
Some of those guys are now playing for the Savannah Bananas or something, they're entertaining.
Well, they got
crowd.
a crash course.
I know.
Some of them are in the big leagues. Patrick Wisdom was in some of my videos and he's hitting like tons of homers for the Cubs right now. Yeah. But he was the real men of genius. Like, here's to you, baseball's designated hitter.
So good.
You don't even own a glove.
He's first
here
team
comes
all
Patty
good looks.
Wiz, like cut off shirt and shades. Like, what? We've shot so many good ones. It's really all encompassing, and it's something for everybody too, because a lot of the movies my kids love, right? So it's PG, and that's what I wanted to do on social media. Is there's a lot of bad stuff out there, and honestly, I set myself apart just putting out good quality humor, and for no other reason than, life's fun. It can be fun with the people that you're with.
Well done. Well, it's done you well, and it gives me a great laugh. I'll be in Nashville for my Nashville Sandlot end of August. So if you're not on the road, we'd love to see you out there. We'll make a funny video or two, and we'll teach kids love of play, man. We'll have some fun with it. So appreciate you coming on.
That's awesome.
You're the most interesting man in my baseball world.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you, dude. Great to meet you, dude. Have a great day.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, man. Baseball is fun. It's awesome. Brings people together.
Outstanding. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Billy.
Yep.
You can pop out. We'll finish up our episode on our end, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you, bud. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Attaboy.
Good stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Really good stuff. Takeaways. There's a lot. Like I think he came in thinking we were just gonna laugh for an hour, which we could have, because me and him we see eye to eye on a lot of baseball humor, but we dug pretty deep. You got any takeaways?
I love that his focus on throw strikes. I loved that, especially that's not the focus anymore, right? This era of showcase baseball, it's how hard can you throw it. But I'm so aligned with him of learn how to throw a strike first and then learn how to throw hard. Like, it's the opposite now. It's like, how hard can you throw? That doesn't impress me as a coach. It's actually annoying when someone throws a billion and they can't throw a strike. It's like, next guy. Like, I don't have time for it. It's not impressive, So I love that. I love that it came from his dad and his brothers. Like the family business is baseball, and
Right.
I can relate to that in some ways. I love that he made the clubhouse fun. So he and I would have been very, very much best friends if we shared a clubhouse. I can promise you, because I'm looking to have fun. He's looking to have fun. Couple of dudes just living their best life.
And his dad, the legend in that town, was the most quiet guy at the Little League game.
Obviously, he was watching the game.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
we had a great interview with our man Tim Dillard, and that interview was brought to you by our one and only sponsor, Warstick. They battle, baby. If you want to get a 15% discount, go to the Warstick website, and the discount code is Attaboy15. And they've got bats and gloves, and they've got all sorts of great stuff. Go do a little surfing on that Warstick website. Thanks for being our sponsor, and thanks to all our Patreons for supporting as well. Tommy Gold has gotten another job, so he's still in the mix, but just needed to explore the space, so to speak, find some new avenues. But before we close up shop, I don't even know. I got to check in with you and your team. You had a second round game Saturday. How'd it go?
Second round game against the team that we played 2 weeks earlier, right? Yuma Catholic, tremendous team coached by Judd Thrower, who's awesome. Tremendous respect for him. And they've got this stud lefty, Mickey Fox. So we had a game plan coming in where we were going to really try to see some pitches and try to get him out of the game. We felt like if we could get him out of the game, we had a really good chance, because they threw their other guy in their game one round. So they didn't really have another high-level pitcher. So Michael Chop started the game. We went with an opener, and my son, freshman, started the game. First inning, 1-2-3, struck out the 3-hole, and we came out hyped.
Bang.
Yeah, but then their guy's really good too, and he did the same thing to us. 1-2-3. Second inning, they ended up scoring on a mild ground ball down to third, and our third baseman's elite Gold Glove defender tipped off his glove. They scored a run. We came back and scored a run right back as 1-1. Then we put in our ace. So Mike went 2 innings, gave up 1 run, but handed the ball off to our ace in a 1-1 game. We felt like we're in a really good spot. Ace comes out, walks the leadoff guy. That's troubling, and it's the leadoff guy in their lineup in the third. And when he gets on, he scores. So he ended up scoring. We had an error by our second baseman, who had a great season. They scored 1 earned run and 1 unearned run. So they're up 3-1. It's like, all right, boys, here we go. Let's go. Keep, trust the process. Fast forward, it's 3-3, and we get their ace out in the 6th inning, right? So we're like, oh, this is it. This is perfect. We still have our ace going. We get their guy out. Go into the top of the 7th inning. We get if we get them out, we have the top of our order coming up in the bottom of the 7th. It's lining up for another walk-off. Get the first 2 guys out really quickly. 2 outs, nobody on. Give them credit. 3-hole hitter hits a double basically down the left field line. We intentionally walked the 4-hole hitter because he's one of their best hitters. Next guy, same almost instant replay of the ground ball that Mike gave up a run onto third. And our third baseman, same thing, backhand play, routine for him. He's elite, but it goes under his glove. They score 4-3. We go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 7th. That's the end of your season. But man, I'm so proud of our babies. And we had a game plan coming in. We executed it to an absolute T. And similar to last year, it just wasn't meant to be. But we were a young team, and we finished the year just I think it ended up like 13-3 over our last 16 games. It was incredible. And we played so clean for like 8 straight weeks, almost 2 months, that we had a day where we weren't really clean. We had 3 errors, and that cost us, but we battled. We lost 4-3. But man, I'm proud of my babies. And you know what's crazy? So that happened on Saturday, right? And I'm going through all my end of the year interviews with my guys, getting all my stuff prepared for our meeting tomorrow. Today's Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. So the first day back at school, I had 6 kids out there that wanted to work. So we're out there working, just getting ready for next year. You heard it here first. We're going to win the state title in 2024, and we can replay this clip. The date is
it's May something.
May 9th. It's May 9th, 2023. Come May 15th, 2024, we will be the state champions. I promise. And it's not because we're going to have a lot of talent, but just this mindset of like, okay, let's get back to work. We lost nobody from this team, and we're getting some studs that are coming in as incoming freshmen. We are winning a state title, and we are going to have so much fun. Like, the summer starts. We're coming to California June 2nd through the 12th with the group of boys with our summer program. So like, the fact that I had so many babies that were ready to get right back to work, like nothing happened other than, hey, let's keep going, process over results. Let's get to work. Let's go. Is nothing short of incredible. Our kid that was supposed to start yesterday for the 3rd round threw a 90-pitch bullpen yesterday to teammates. It's crazy. Let's go.
I'm guessing that they're not having much trouble processing failure. We'll close up shop with this. How did you process the failure personally in that moment? And then how did you help that group process that big loss, tough loss?
Yeah, it was easy just because we're not losing anybody, right? So it's like when you're not, like the year before when I lost 12 seniors, I was weeping. And it wasn't because we lost. It was because I don't get to be with these kids anymore, these young men that mean so much to me. I knew, you know how it is when a season ends and guys graduate or move on or get traded, or you want to keep in touch, but you don't. It's very hard. So last year I was inconsolable with emotion, not because we lost, because I don't get to see these babies every day. And I wanted 2 more weeks with them. I needed it. Right. Whereas this one on Saturday was incredibly simple. It's like, hey guys, we had some plays we didn't make, but like that doesn't take away from our season. Like we're the back-to-back 3A South Region champions, something that had never been done in school history. You guys did it with 4 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 3 juniors. Every one of us is coming back, with the exception of Tyler Mustaine, who's going off to play Division I football. He joined the team halfway through the year because we needed another athlete. And he hit 370, 600 slug, and he hadn't played baseball since 8th grade. But Tyler's going off, but like, that's okay. He just did us a favor. In fact, I'm awarding him the Knight in Shining Armor Award at our banquet because he's a Knight in Shining Armor. But everyone else, it was really easy because it's like, hey guys, like we get to play another game in 3 weeks, this entire group. Yeah. So that was very easy for me. The emotion hit Sunday morning at church. So my son told me he cried himself to sleep. So I had that kind of that burdened me a little bit. I know that our third baseman that I brought up, how great he is, and he had those 2 plays that he makes in his sleep. I mean, he's that good. I've told you about him. He's like Manny Machado. His actions, he's incredible. But he didn't make those plays that he knows he could have made. And it was almost like they were in between a dive and so it's like he didn't have to smother it. He really trusted himself, and he's worked so hard on his backhand. It just wasn't meant to be. He cried himself to sleep, and I got wind of that too. So at church, there was some music playing, and it was playing, and the message of this song was about how our God goes before us and after us and all alongside us, and let his favor be upon you. And it made me think of our kids, right? Of like, dang, like I know that this is hard for them because when you're in high school, this is all that they have. But us as adults, we're able to see the perspective of like, babies, it's okay. You know, it's okay. Failure's good. Failure's going to propel us to tremendous things. So I got really emotional. I openly cried during this song, but it was more about just God's grace and his love. And like, this song's powerful. It's called The Blessing. Look it up. It talks about how God is for you and his favor be upon you and your children and your children's children. It's a verse out of Genesis. But yeah, so that was where I had to process emotion, but it was not my own. I'm so proud of our kids. It was because I know, and you know, we've been that age, and I was like, God, give my babies peace. You know, give them peace and help them know that, gosh dang, they're loved. And I freaking love them, and I cannot wait to get back to. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I can't wait to get back to work, and now I get to work with my younger babies. So now I'm excited too. Now I can get back to my these younger group of 10 and 11-year-olds that that I love so much. And all of them were at the game, and they were so proud of these boys that are their big brothers, because they help coach camps and stuff. So we got a really special thing going with these groups and these families, and I'm so thankful that I get to coach them. I love them all.
Good stuff. Yep. Seems like their joy is detached from their results, and then they have turned the page and said, well, let's get out there and do it again. And for teams, Little League, travel ball, high school, anything. I mean, we're coming to the end of the season. We're coming to tournament games and big losses. And I highly encourage you to help these kids process their big losses or their failures. If you don't win the championship, with some sort of pizza party the very next week, and make it a Sandlot game, barbecue, and just let them know, hey, that this is not the end all be all, and the priority is in these relationships that we built together and the life lessons we learned this week, or this year. Good stuff, man. Proud of you and your team for I know, there's some loyal listeners out there. They were wondering how'd it go, and we followed your journey this whole year, and we'll be letting you know come playoff time next year. That you called it, dude. You called it.
I'm telling you right now. And just to touch on this too, I think sometimes us as parents, we assume our kids are okay, right? Like Michael had a great game on Saturday. He drove in a run. He had a game tying RBI in the 6th inning off that great pitcher that ended up getting him out of the game. He got a base hit. He had a bunt for hit. So he was 1 for 2 with an RBI. So you would think he would be happy. No, he comes home and I'm like, Mikey, what's wrong? He's like, we lost by 1 and I gave up a run. It's like, no, dude, like you handed the ball off to our ace, tied, and you drove in the game tying run, and you got a bunt base hit, and you like that's a great game. But no, like the devil messes with us and they find failure, and he tries to get us to where we don't see our worth. And not that if he had gone 0 for 3, that doesn't change his worth, but it's like, even in a great game where they do great things, oftentimes human nature is, but if I would have done more, and if I would have done this, it's like, no, dude, like I'm so proud of you as a freshman, competing. Yeah. And so just be mindful of that. Like, don't assume your kids are okay. Check in.
There you go. That's perfect. Well, we'll do it again next week, won't we?
Can't wait.
Let's do it again. Folks, you're awesome. We got some great feedback. I got some texts, some emails from last week's episode with my good pal Sean Flicky, talking about the child that is disruptive, disrespectful, just not cooperating, and I've taken tips already, and I've already failed at what I learned from him last week, and ran into it at Sandlots, and probably could have done better. So take it from me, it is not easy, but I'll keep on trying to become the best coach I can. I like that episode. That was nice.
Me too. I like that.
See
you, buddy. Have a great week.
All right. Bang, bang, bang. Rake.